pain and the blood, and they would realize what she'd done for them. With that decided, she headed off again for the physical therapy rooms. She would visit the morgue after this to see Owen's remains and hear the autopsy report. The young man, the third in this latest batch of volunteers, had died on the table during the surgery. Inside the sprawling physical therapy complex, 2 women were practicing with their new upgrades, each surrounded by a team of scientists who took notes and gave instructions. At the far side of the room, a young woman was walking on a balance beam, and closer to the door, a woman with gray hair threw axes at a target. Issa handed the reports to Luke and settled in to watch the axe throwing. The older woman, Sandra, was 5 foot 2 inches, with gray hair in a nondescript, half-curled bob. She was still wearing the clothes she'd brought with her to the post headquarters, chinos and cardigans in various preppy and pastel colors. Issa had asked whether Sandra wanted her appearance changed, and Sandra had been adamant that she didn't. At least, not yet. "People judge me because of what I look like," she said. "They think they don't have to worry about me, that I'm powerless. It's a good way to judge character." Although Sandra didn't say it, Issa suspected the woman knew what role many of the post employees would be playing. Assassins. Many governments, after all, were full of people who couldn't conceive of a different world. Too many politicians were willing to play with mechanical suits of armor or regrown limbs, even cybernetic eyes or advanced hearing aids for soldiers. But what they wanted was a group of elite combat operatives who would uphold the current world order. Post wasn't only a post-human organization. It was supposed to be post-everything. A new era. Who could say how things would change when their frailties no longer bound humans? That was what Issa sought, and she knew it was what the politicians feared. They might not be able to keep control of that world. People might not care any longer about the same issues. Everything would be different. She'd have to deal with those who opposed her vision. Blackmail for some, bribes for others, pain or death for those she couldn't convince any other way. Quiet deaths, not anything notable. Like an older woman in khakis and a cardigan. Practically invisible. Sandra picked up another axe, assessed her distance to the target, and whipped her arms forward to throw it end over end. The axe turned lazily in the air and struck the target's center. Unimpressed, Sandra walked over to wrench it free and threw it again, harder this time. She continued to increase her power and speed until she could no longer strike the target accurately. She continued at that level for several minutes while Issa watched. Issa was a firm believer in watching the mundane pieces of practice. It was far more reliable to assess an operative's character in their grit and determination for repetitive, honed tasks than it could be in a quick, flashy demonstration. Finally, Sandra stopped and rotated her left arm in the socket. Blood was seeping through her shirt from that shoulder. "The issue is here," she told the scientists. "I'm able to scale up and down the power very predictably on the right shoulder, but this one is catching sometimes or going too hard." The engineers and doctors swarmed around her with various instruments, murmuring to one another in low tones. They nodded at Issa when she approached, but didn't fall silent or stop working. Post wasn't the sort of place where deference to the CEO meant that everyone stopped what they were doing. "It appears to be going well," Issa said. She allowed her tone to show that she was impressed. She didn't believe in manipulating good agents by weaponizing displeasure or pretending they weren't doing well. "It is," Sandra said at once.